Welcome to the Golden State Take podcast. My name is Yanni.
I'm Danny, and we're brought to you by Super Grill in Pleasanton, California, the best teriyaki chicken in the Bay Area. We got lots to talk to you about today. We got the first week of MLB baseball. We'll be talking Giants and A's, and we're getting to the last days of a playoff race for both the Sharks and the Warriors. And I think we're going to get into a little bit of 49ers football today, too. So, where do you want to start?
Let's get started with let's start off with the worst team right now. Let's start with the A's.
Sounds good.
Shout out to the A's.
The Sacramento
Yeah,
Athletics.
they've been awful the first two series this year. They're 1-5, and their biggest thing right now is they can't hit the ball worth anything right now.
Yep.
I watched the first, and I think this really started with their opening game against Toronto. They actually looked good at the start of the game. Severino was pitching well, and then I forgot what inning it was, but they hit a ball in the gap between center and left field, and both outfielders just stopped mid sprint, and the ball went through the gap, and that changed the momentum of that game, which I thought they were heading toward an opening day win. And I wonder if that, although it didn't seem like a big deal at the time, if that just kind of mentally messed them up for the rest of that series and then into their last series. But they look terrible right now.
Yep. Haven't been pitching the ball well and haven't been hitting the ball. They're 1-5, like you said, and it doesn't get any easier. They got the Astros coming into town starting today, and then they play the Yankees. So could get ugly here for the A's for sure. The only guy who's really hitting for them is Langeliers so far. I think he's hitting 375 with 5 homers.
Yeah.
5 homers leads all of MLB, and then the rest of the team is hitting 149 with only one home run. So it's like not even exaggerating to say he's been pretty much their entire offense.
Oh, 100%. I have some notes right here to just tell you exactly how bad they are. So, like you said, Langoliers is the only one who's come ready to play this year. Batting 375, like you said, 5 home runs, 8 RBIs. The rest of the team has 1 home run and 9 RBIs
And hitting 149.
and hitting 149. So, as a team average, they're worst in the league right now at batting 177. ERA for their pitchers is 4.33, which is ranked 23rd, which going into the year, we already knew their pitching was suspect. So that's not very surprising.
Yeah.
But what got us excited this year was their young players and their offense. We thought that their offense could at least carry them to a respectable record. And again, it's only first 6 games of the year. We have 156 left, so don't want to get don't want to overreact too much to this, but their young players are really struggling right now. I mean, Nick Kurtz is 1 for 17 with 11 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Their team as a whole broke the record for most strikeouts in the first 3 games in MLB history with 50. So I think when you look at that stat, it's more to do with I think young players that are also trying to do too much, trying to start the season off up to get the season off to a good start, and they're trying so hard that it's almost having the opposite effect for them. And so I don't wonder, are you seeing the same thing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, maybe pressing a bit too hard at the beginning of the year. And yeah, some young players that had great seasons last year and maybe are just getting off to a poor start this year, maybe pressing a little bit too hard.
Yeah, because and one thing I wanted to ask you too, because I found this really interesting, and not to say this is why they're struggling, but Nick Kurtz obviously won Rookie of the Year last year, had a great season, and is a power hitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've had him batting leadoff, and at least not last game. He didn't play last game, and they dropped him down a little bit. But the opening series against Toronto, they had him leading off, which I found interesting because wouldn't you want your guys who are known for getting on base, having a good on base percentage to lead off to set the table for your power hitters? I found it odd that he was leading off.
Yeah, that's definitely more the traditional view. But I mean, you kind of see the same thing with the Giants. I'm sure we'll get into it. But
Yeah,
Willie Adamas has been leading off the last few games. So I guess managers want some pop in that leadoff spot, and also Kurtz, he can draw a walk too, so he can set the table. But I mean, if I was the manager, I probably wouldn't be batting Nick Kurtz leadoff.
yeah, because I get my logic, and again, maybe this is just an older perspective on it or like an old school way of looking at it, but if your power hitters are leading off the game, that even if they do hit a home run, it's a solo shot. But if you got guys who can get on base and set the table, and now all of a sudden when they come up to bat, there's at least one guy on base or two guys on base.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like that's just it just makes sense from that perspective to have him batting third or fourth. But I mean, Langoliers, don't think you do anything with him. Let him do what he's doing. Keep him where he's at.
for
But
sure.
I think maybe keeping Jacob Wilson as your leadoff hitter, somebody who's known at least early in his career to be able to get on base and to, you know, at least get things off to a good start. Because especially with Chris, how bad he's batting right now, every time he comes up, every start of the game, it's one out with no one on at this point. So
Yeah,
I think you got to change it up, and maybe batting him in the middle of the order, I think will help out. Um, but yeah, biggest issue with them right now has been their hitting 100%.
yep,
And it's been their top guys. As far as their pitching goes, I mean, like I said, Severino, I thought actually had a pretty solid opening day. I don't think that loss was on him at all. Outside of that, though, it's been pretty subpar. But what have you thought about their deep or their pitching so far?
Aaron Savali had a pretty good start. I think he got the win and their only win so far. And there's a couple guys in their bullpen that have pitched well. I wanted to single out Hogan Harris. I think he's made the most appearances for the team.
Mm-hmm.
4 5 innings pitched, no runs allowed quite yet. So he's been strong. So there's a few silver linings, I suppose, but as a whole, they haven't been great.
Do you see when would you? Because I know you said they play the Yankees and they play Houston
They
today,
play
right?
Houston, yeah, home opener today against Houston.
You think maybe just coming home will change it, or like when would you say you would start to feel a little nervous about where things are going with this team?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess the good news with them is that those guys you mentioned that have been struggling are not going to continue hitting like that. Like, there's
Yeah,
going to be some positive regression. Nick Kurtz is going to get hot at some point, but I mean, these next two series are huge. You drop 2 out of 3 to Houston, and then 2 out of 3 to New York, and all of a sudden you're looking at what, like a 3-9 start, something like that. So it'd be huge if they could get a series win here against Houston and maybe start to stop that slide and start building some positive momentum. But I'm concerned already for sure.
yeah, and like I said, with the strikeouts and just how poorly they've been hitting, like you said, it's not gonna. I think it's physically impossible for it to continue like that all year. But you do see that a lot of the pitches they're striking out on, they're not strikes. They're off speed pitches. They're reaching. They're trying to. I think, like I said, do too much, and I think that is normal with a young team. But I think that if they just can simplify things and just focus on you know having good strong at bats, getting on base, I think things will start to turn around for them. So my player of the week for the A's, I think it's pretty obvious. Langoliers. Like I said, having half of your team's RBIs is crazy, and
Yeah,
5 of the 6 home runs. Really, by default, I think the player of the week goes to him. I'm assuming you probably have the
I
same
would
thing.
I would take him as well. It's pretty slim pickings outside of him. I guess if I had to single out another player, it'd be Hogan Harris, who has
Yeah,
been really solid out of their bullpen. So maybe he can kind of solidify that bullpen for them. But Langoliers is the clear pick.
no, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, so it'll be fun to see what they do against Houston. Hopefully, they have a bounce back coming back home, and I hopefully after the MLB did not do them any favors with the start of this year.
yeah,
It is a really hard start for them in the month of April. So hopefully they can just weather the storm, win a few games, and hopefully next time we talk about this next week, we can see a change
for sure.
of the way they're playing. Now let's shift over to your team, the
The
Giants.
Giants, yep, they started the season with about as bad of a series as they possibly could have had. They got swept by the Yankees, scored 1 run in 3 games, 4 hits in their first 2 games, but then went down to San Diego for a road series against a good divisional rival and took 2 out of 3. And I was pretty impressed by the bounce back there. And now took the first game of this Mets series. They play again tonight against the Mets, second game of the series. So it's been a mixed bag. But like I said, I was pretty impressed with the resilience of going down to San Diego after such a brutal opening series and find a way to win a series. And they looked pretty good last night. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah, no, I like you said they had 4 hits the first 2 games of the of the season,
Yeah,
1 run. So you're obviously not going to win any games that way. Like we've talked about with the A's, physically impossible for that to continue. So you knew eventually the bats would come around.
yeah,
As far as I want to talk about offensively first for them and their hitting. It seemed like for that first win, though, it was the bottom of the order that got things started for them. Overall, I feel like the top of the order has been very inconsistent, and if you look at the last couple games that they've won, they scored, I believe, 8 runs in the game, or they scored 7 runs last night against the Mets, 8 runs against, why am I blanking on
like
it?
second game in the series against the Padres, I
Yeah, the
think.
pot. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. The top of the order played well, but overall they have been inconsistent. Arias has been their best hitter right
yeah,
now, batting 320. But as far as Adames, Devers, I feel like again they've been pretty hit or miss. Lee's been also he only has 4 hits this year so far.
Yeah,
So it'd be nice to see the heart of the order get going a little bit because we see the potential, we see the talent that they do have.
yeah,
But I think this year it's gonna come and go with how they're playing for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, you mentioned Arise. I think that's somebody to single out. That's had a really good start to the year. He's leading the team in average OPS and stolen bases. He's really been kind of the guy that's starting things for them in their offense. It's been interesting to see, like you mentioned, Kurt's leading off for the A's. Arise is a guy that's hitting cleanup for the Giants, and like he's not your traditional cleanup hitter,
No, no,
but
no.
I think they like to have a guy there that puts the ball in play because if you got if the bases are set for your four hitter, you want him to put the ball in play and find a way to drive a run in. So it might be a little bit not traditional, but it's interesting to see what Vitella's been doing with the
Yeah. Well, and I back to the notes. I
lineup.
have so Adamas has been leading off for this year. He's 6 for 28. Not to mention he won 4 for 4 against the Padres in their win, or was he 4 for 5? I can't remember.
Something good. I
He had
can't
four
remember.
hits. I know
Yeah,
that. So outside of that game, he's got 2 hits. So he's been off and on. He's batting 214. We talked about Arias, and then Ramos and Devers. I don't know with Devers. He had his first home run yesterday,
yeah,
but I don't know. I see when I watch him play, I see a lot of Pablo Sandoval in him. I don't know why. I don't know.
mm,
It's just the way they carry themselves in the box. He definitely has confidence, but I don't know. I just feel like kind of like with Sandoval when he's playing well, there's very few people that are better than him,
yeah.
but there's a consistency there. And so far, at least with the Giants, I feel like he struggled to find that consistency with the team.
Hmm.
Hopefully, last night's game helps. Ramos 5 for 27, batting 185. Chapman 6 for 27, 222. Jung Hoo Lee 4 for 23, 174.
Mm.
Who's actually leading the team in RBIs, oddly enough. But
Jungkook Lee's had some good at bats. Like
yeah,
the average right there might not suggest that, but I've been pretty impressed with his at bats so far. And like you said, leading the team in RBI too.
yeah, and no, and like I feel like that's clearly your top six right now, and
Hmm.
whichever order you have, obviously maybe that changes, but I think that's clearly your top six guys. I would be interested, or I would like to see um, Arias maybe start batting. At least maybe not first, but maybe second. Again, try to get some guys on base and set up your cleanup guys, your power hitters. But overall, from the bottom of the lineup, what have you thought about them so far?
Well, related to that, last night was Daniel Susak's MLB debut, the backup
Hmm.
catcher, and he went 3 for 3. So he's got more hits on the season than Patrick Bailey,
Yeah,
but he's
Bailey's
two
got
for
two,
18 on
yeah,
the year. So I mean, everybody talks about how great Bailey is defensively, and he is great defensively, but like I don't want to read too much into a one game sample size, but at what point do you continue to tolerate your starting catcher hitting in the 100s?
right. Well, and obviously, in a perfect scenario, you have a guy who's good in the field, good hitter,
Yeah,
has a two-way game. That's obviously what you hope for. But when you have a player that's really good at one or really bad at the other, how much do you value good defensive play if your hitting is so subpar versus having a guy who, like you said, 3 for 3 can produce more offensively and defensively? I'd imagine can't be that much worse of a player. There would be that much of a letdown
yeah.
defensively.
I think at catcher specifically, you're more willing to tolerate some pretty poor offensive performance for a great defender.
Yeah.
I mean, Bailey was particularly valuable with his framing ability. I think it remains to be seen how ABS is going to kind of alter that. But he's a great defender. He handles the pitching staff well. So at catcher, you're more willing to tolerate that, but there's a limit. He's got to get it going with the bat, and I think maybe having another catcher like Susak starting to push him a little bit might be good for Bailey. Might be a good healthy competition there.
Well, I wanted to ask you this too because you mentioned framing, but like, what makes, in your opinion, because you've been watching more baseball than I have in the past, but what makes a good catcher defensively? Like like obviously you're the one in charge of you're the quarterback of the defense essentially. You're in charge of the pitches coming in, framing, throwing guys out when they still base. But in your mind, what's considered a really good defender?
Yeah, I mean it's everything you just mentioned. It's framing. It's being able to throw out a runner. It's also being able to block a pitch in the dirt. And it's also just like a steadiness. Buster Posey always felt so steady with him behind the plate, and I feel like as a pitcher you can sense that from a catcher. And Bailey definitely has that composure and that trust of the pitching staff. I think so. I think that's a big thing for a catcher as well.
Yeah, and now could you kind of play it both ways as far as utilizing that DH spot? I know Devers has been the DH right now, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I know obviously Devers is going to be in the lineup, pretty much every night. But could you see a scenario where they have Susac come in as a DH and have his bat while having Bailey be that defensive player?
yeah. I mean, it's based on last night. I want to say yes, but it's too early to tell. I mean, Susac definitely could continue making the case and kind of force his way into the lineup more consistently. And if that's the case, they're going to find ways to give him starts. But it's going to be pretty hard to dislodge Defers from that DH spot because it seems like they're pretty comfortable with Casey Schmidt at first base right now. Even though there was did you see the
Yeah,
other
I
night
did.
with
Yeah,
the
with
Chapman?
Chapman. Yeah, a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chapman was getting on him after
Yeah.
catch the ball.
The first one I was did it because I saw the replay a few times and I couldn't really tell, did it hit the runner, the first one?
It was kind of it was in the path of the runner for sure. The first one was tough, and the second one was a little bit high, but Schmidt like stretched way more than he needed
I
to. That
Yeah.
ball should have been caught, even though it was a high throw.
The
Um,
second one was definitely worse for sure on
yeah,
Schmidt for sure.
um, yeah. I don't know. I mean, personally, I see Casey Schmidt more as like a utility player off the bench. I don't really, I don't feel very good about him as our starting first baseman. And I like Casey Schmidt. I think he's a good player,
Yeah.
but that guy probably shouldn't be your starting first baseman. He's a good defensive second baseman. The positional versatility in the infield is part of his value. So I think, I mean, obviously in the near term, they want to get Bryce Eldridge up, and I think that's his spot. That's his spot for the future. Um, and speaking of Eldridge, I got some numbers
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So I was looking at Eldridge's AAA performance so far this year, and he's had 28 at bats, 6 strikeouts, and 5 walks. So that is a strikeout percentage of 23% and a walk rate of 19%. So small sample size, but compared to last year in AAA, he struck out 31% of the time and only walked 9% of the time.
When you said he struck out like 50% in
In the MLB,
spring training,
oh, and
right?
in
Like,
spring training, yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, he hasn't hit a home run yet. The batting average doesn't jump off the sheet, but I think that's really what is important to pay attention to is how is his approach looking? Is he cutting down on the swing and miss? Is he having a more disciplined approach at the plate? And the early numbers would suggest there's been some improvement. So it's encouraging. I hope to see him sooner rather than later, and I think he could solidify a lot of things for their lineup.
So if when he comes up, he'll be your first baseman. But I have heard some talks with Vitello, and a lot of people are asking about Devers possibly playing the field. What is he? Would he have to slide into first base, or would he be more? What position would he slide
Well,
into typically?
he played third base with the Red Sox,
Okay.
but last year he mostly played first base with the Giants, where he played a little bit of third and first. And he looked a lot better at first. I think if you do use him in the field, they're definitely a lot more comfortable using him at first.
Yeah, and you're not going to take Chapman off of
No,
third
no,
at
that would
this
have to
point.
be an injury or an off day.
So I guess in the short term, because I don't think they'll probably bring up Bryce in the super near future.
Yeah,
At least in the next couple of weeks minimum. Could you see a scenario where they try to bring Devers in and have him play first and allow Schmidt to be that utility guy coming in, for guys here and there, and then maybe like we said, having Bailey stay a catcher and having Susik play the DH? Could you see that shift happen at some point? Or do you think that's a correct shift to make?
I think it could happen if Susac forces the issue for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, it's we'll just have to see how it plays out. But Schmidt did have 3 hits last night. I'm pretty sure. So maybe Schmidt is starting to get it going too. But it's good to have competition.
for
So
sure.
we'll see. Do you have a player of the week for the Giants?
I do have a player of the week. So as far as the player of the week, I have Robbie Ray.
Nice.
I thought he's in his 2 starts has been pretty good. I think when you compare his numbers to Logan Webb, I think Webb's had great moments. The opening day game against the Yankees, I thought overall he played well, but that second inning was brutal.
Got away from him. Yeah,
And then his last start in against San Diego, the, it was kind of the opposite. The beginning of the game was rough for him. He had struggled with his command. He walked 4 batters. His last couple innings, though, I think you see a lot of that mental toughness with him,
for
where
sure.
things may not be going well, and you can tell in his interviews when he's talking after the game. Doesn't have excuses. He's just like, you know what, I needed to pitch better. I needed to come through and at least last a couple more innings. I think he was able to make it through six
Yes.
innings, and so I thought his mental toughness really showed in that second game, and he got a hold of his command. But overall, I thought Robbie Ray as a whole played well and in both games, and he's my player of the week.
Nice. Yeah, he had a great outing last night. I'll stick with starting pitching, and I'll mention Landon Root, who after they started the season 0-3 versus the Yankees, you go on the road to San Diego. In that fourth game, I mean, I don't want to say it's a must-win game this early in the season, but it's a huge game, and the bat still hadn't like really gotten going yet. So you needed a good starting pitching performance from a guy that's in the back of your rotation, and he came through at six innings, 7 strikeouts, no runs. He gave them a great outing, and they got a win to kind of stop that negative momentum and get them going in the right direction. So I thought that was a huge performance.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
Before we move on, though, I do have two things I want to talk to you about. One with Vitello, but the other one first I want to ask because I forgot to ask you last week. What's your take on the ABS challenge and that being implemented in the league?
I I'm still getting used to it. I would say I don't like when it disrupts like the end of an inning. Or I don't know if this has happened yet, but like the end of a game too. Like you don't want that like little lull between the last pitch that should be the last pitch of an inning and then the transition.
Yeah,
So it's I don't know. I'll get used to it. I was uncomfortable with all the changes they've made at first. Like the pitch clock and the extra inning
yeah.
rule, and then 50 games into the season, it's just kind of like it's become normalized. So it's weird.
I agree. I feel like with the pitch clock, I think again maybe it's just because we've gotten used to it, but you don't notice it really because again, pitcher pitches, gets the ball back. He's just kind of speeding up a little bit of his process. But I feel like as a fan, you're not really in tune to that or notice it. I mean, I'll watch 2, 3 innings before I even
Yeah,
notice the clock. Whereas the ABS challenge, it's similar to the challenges in basketball where you get to do you want to use them early on in the game on a, obviously every pitch is somewhat meaningful, but there's different levels to it. Do you
right.
want to waste it in the second inning with no one on base versus, eighth inning bases loaded? There's different moments you want to use it, but I do like that it is a pretty quick
That's
process.
true.
Now, because I just want to ask, does the ball just have to have some part of it in the strike zone for it to
Yes.
be considered? Okay, so even the smallest amount.
Yeah, like last night, Susak used to challenge, and it was just like barely touching the bottom left corner of the zone, but it got overturned. They got a strike on it. So
Okay, and in your mind, do you think it should just really be the catcher making the call on that? Because I know the pitchers can make, and the batters can make a call on that, correct?
yeah,
Or they can challenge.
I think so. I mean, I think the catcher's probably the guy who's got the best, obviously the best view. Like
Yeah,
a manager's not gonna be able to see that from the dugout,
for
and
sure.
even a pitcher like might be a little bit biased and not have the best angle there. It's been interesting how it puts such a microscope on umpires. Like
100%.
it really shows who's a good umpire and who isn't. Like
Yeah.
I saw CB Buckner the other night, who's a notoriously bad umpire,
Yeah.
had like 20 missed calls in one game, and like I
Jeez.
forget how many overturns, but it's gonna spotlight who is like not a good umpire and
Yeah.
who is.
There was one. I don't know if it was the same umpire, but I forgot what game it was. I just saw the clip of it where he pitched it literally right down the middle, and he
Yeah,
called
I
it a
saw that. Yeah,
ball. And like they showed the ABS, and the ball literally is just dead center in the strike zone. And I'm like, well, that's bizarre.
yeah,
But like, yeah. Oh, so okay. So you get two. I know that.
yes,
If you challenge, and I know if you fail the challenge with which I haven't seen, I maybe have seen one so far
uh-huh.
that has actually not been reversed. I feel like it's a pretty,
I haven't looked at the percentages. I'm
at
not sure.
least for the game, at least the Giants and A's games that I've seen. Again, I don't know about the rest of the league, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like I've only seen one that the call stood. So it's a pretty high conversion rate.
Yeah,
But I know if you challenge and the call stands, you lose the challenge. But if you challenge twice and you win those challenges, you keep getting challenges. Like theoretically, you could have unlimited amount, or is there a cap at some point?
if as long as you keep getting them right,
Yeah, yeah.
I think as long as you keep getting them right, you keep retaining them. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, is that how challenges work in football as well? I think yes.
Well, I want to say though in football, I think there is still like a cap amount.
Oh,
I could be wrong on that, but I feel like here, you mind looking it up real
yeah,
quick? Because
yeah,
I'm
sure.
interested. Because again, because when I hear them saying, "Well, it's the second or third inning, do you want to use your challenge?" But like, if it's clearly you're going to win the challenge, why wouldn't you use it unless you're worried that at some point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you're just worried that you might get it wrong. Okay, there's a limit. Each team is limited to 2 incorrect challenges per game. Teams retain their challenges if it is successful. If a game goes into extra innings, teams receive 1 additional challenge for the 10th inning and one for each subsequent inning if they are out of challenges. So I think as long as they get them right, they keep them.
Okay, so you can use one challenge in inning one, inning two, and if they're just obvious
Yeah,
challenges that you get right, you just keep. Okay.
I guess you don't want to use him just in case you get it wrong.
Yeah,
Obviously, if it's a borderline call.
yeah. I like you said. I think right now, again, it's nothing crazy has happened, but I
Yeah,
think all it takes is a playoff game,
yeah,
a World Series game where it's just like the moment is so high and something, and I guess what you just want to avoid as a league, you don't want this challenge to be and to force an outcome in a big game, right?
yeah,
Again, fifth inning, fourth inning, who cares? But come playoff time, come World Series, you want to make sure that that's not the only thing being talked
yeah,
about.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. All right, yeah. I just want to get your take on that. The other thing I want to talk about before we move on is Vitello.
Uh huh.
It's his first week as manager in the regular season. How have you thought about how he has been, and what have you seen from him?
I like him. I like the energy he's brought to the team. I mean, it's a lot. It was a lot more easy to be critical after the first three games,
Yeah,
and you listen to his press conferences, and he gives kind of rambling answers sometimes. And when they're 0-3, those answers don't really resonate as much
for
as
sure.
after they get a couple wins. But I think that resiliency that I was talking about in terms of losing three games, getting a kick in the balls right to start the season, and then you go on the road and get two wins.
Yeah,
I think that speaks to the character of a manager. And then also, um, when they got his first win in San Diego, the
bro, the kick in the balls got me, bro. I
just
can't.
the first win in San Diego, they get him his first win as a
Yeah,
manager in the celebration in the clubhouse afterwards. Like they put him in a shopping cart and give him the beer bath or whatever.
yeah.
And I think he's liked by the team. Uh, he's a nice change from the energy that they've had in the past. Uh, I'm a fan. I like him honestly.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of funny with the Giants when you look at their manager history over the last few years. You had Bochy, old school guy, been around for a long time.
Yeah,
Then you go to I wasn't a huge fan of him, but I forgot his name. The other manager that took
Melvin.
no, that took over for Bochy.
Oh, Kapler.
Kapler.
Yeah,
You go younger with Kapler.
but Kapler was like a robot. Like
Yeah, well, so yeah, he was very much analytically based, and
exactly.
that
Yeah,
was basically all he kind of went off of, right?
yeah,
And then you go from him to Melvin again, back to the older style, been around the league a long time, and now you're going to
yeah.
a rookie coach. So it's kind of funny how they keep going back and forth between the two.
True.
Like you said, I like him as a guy when he answers questions. He makes the interviews actually very worthwhile to watch. Like you said, he does ramble a lot.
Yeah,
It kind of gets off of topic a little bit, but um, I think again it's his first week, so I'm not gonna look too much into him right now. But as long as the guys like him in the locker room and they listen to him, and
yeah, yeah.
he's got one thing I also noticed he kept alluding to like some conversation they had at the beginning of the year that he felt like played a
Yeah.
factor in that. What was that about?
He said something along the lines of like he gave some fire and brimstone speech, some like
Yeah,
rah rah pregame speech that maybe got them a little bit too emotional before that Yankee series. And
which is
then,
weird. I can't see that from him. I don't know why. I
yeah,
can't see that type of energy coming from him.
he must be a different guy behind the scenes.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was surprising to hear. I like how candid he is with the media for sure, though, because like you said, like how guarded Bob Melvin has been or Kapler has been in the past. It's kind of refreshing to have a guy that just is pretty open with the media and speaks his mind.
yeah. Well, and I think with all sports and head coaching, you have an element to this. But I feel like with baseball, it's very much like a chess match. You have a
Hmm.
lot of pieces, and it is like playing chess. How have you liked his decision making in game, whether it's keeping a pitcher in or pulling him, or going to a certain reliever, or making switches in on the offensive side? Have you seen anything that you've disagreed with, or more or less is he playing you right in your mind?
I've liked how he's allowed starting pitchers to stay in the game and kind of work through some things. Like, I mean, you said earlier, Logan Webb's second outing, how he had to kind of fight through some adversity early and then settle in,
Yeah,
let Roop go 6 innings. They've had a few outings. I think Adrian Hauser, he let battle through some things the other night in San Diego. I like that because I mean I feel like baseball maybe was moving a little bit too much towards like getting the pitcher out early and getting to the bullpen
yeah,
because
which
then
I
you
didn't
could
like that at
prioritize
all.
matchups. But
Yeah,
as a fan, like I want to see a starting pitcher like really have his hands all over the game if he's pitching well, and even if he's having to pitch through some jams and some tough situations. Like it's fun to watch a guy go and pitch 6+ innings and find a way to work through it than it is to watch them really prioritize matchups. As far as his bullpen management, I've liked it so far. I mean, yesterday they used Ryan Walker in the sixth, which was surprising. Like, so he seems to be more of a mindset of like using guys out of the bullpen, situation dependent, as opposed to like having really clear cut roles. Might be more of a committee situation. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the ninth inning going forward.
Yeah.
They've had the Keaton Wynn looked really good in the eighth the other night.
Yeah, he was actually Wynn was actually one of my thoughts for player of the week, but he
Okay.
just again being a reliever, you're not in the game as much. Obviously, you're pitching one inning here and there, so
Yeah.
but he has looked really good so far.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. I'm excited for game two of the Mets series tonight. Hopefully, they can take another series, get back to back series wins.
Absolutely, and you made a good point with leaving guys in as a manager with your pitchers because I also think the player is going to respect that. The
Mm-hmm.
player is going to at that point he's going to want to battle for you because you're taking a chance on him to leave him in
Yeah.
rather than just pulling him at the very beginning of a iffy situation like with Webb. He could have easily pulled Webb, said, you know what, it's not your night. Let's go to the bullpen because, like you said, I don't like when these teams are, 2, 3 innings in pulling the starters, and now you got 6, 7 pitchers
Yeah.
pitching a game. I like the having you guys go out there. If they can give you 6 strong innings or 7 innings in a really good game, that's what I want to see. And then
Yeah.
your bullpen finish off the game.
For sure.
So I do think that early on, that's big for him because I think the players will rally around him in those types of decisions. So
Yeah.
I do like that a lot. So yeah, it's going to be a great week. We'll see how they play this week and
Yeah.
finish
Yeah.
off this Met series. Where do you want to go next? You want to go to the Warriors?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Should we take a quick break to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Super Grill in Pleasanton?
Shout out to Alan.
Shout out to
Get their
Alan.
teriyaki chicken. And what kind of salad do you get?
The house salad.
Don't get the house salad. Don't get the house salad. All right.
And tell them that Golden State Take podcast sent you there.
Yeah, in Pleasanton. All right. And if you go on Monday between 11 and 1 o'clock, there's a high probability you'll see me. And if you want to come get a photo with me or
Yeah, ask for an
want me to sign an
autograph.
autograph, I would be happy to do that for you. All right. So let's get off to let's start with the Warriors.
Okay, let's do it.
Big news, obviously, is it's not confirmed, but it's getting probable that Steph's probably going to come back Sunday
Okay.
against Houston, and then I think if he doesn't come back Sunday, I think they play Sacramento next,
Mm-hmm.
which I think probably for sure for that game. So that leaves them up to 5, possibly 4 games left. If I want,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, they have 5 games
Uh-huh.
left. They play Houston, Sacramento, Lakers, Sacramento Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 5 games left. That gets them back, hopefully for 5 games. So as of right now, with the way the standings sit, they're obviously the 10th seed right now. They're 3 games back of the 9th spot.
Okay.
So they've lost some ground, obviously, with the 3-game losing streak they've been on. So pretty unlikely, even though their last game is against the Clippers, who's the 9th seed. It's very unlikely they're going to finish anywhere other than 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically puts you in the play-in for the 9-10, and then hopefully if you win those 2 playing games, you're going to definitely be the 8th seed and play most likely OKC. OKC has a 2-game lead on San Antonio, so it would take a pretty and they're both teams are playing well, so it would take a really great performance down the stretch from San Antonio to jump OKC.
Yeah.
So again, don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but you get step back. If you do win those playing games, you're likely facing OKC in the first round. So,
Yeah.
what do you thought?
I mean, just talking about seeding a little bit more, like it's funny, they're not really at risk of falling to 11 because
No, yeah, they're like
the
eight,
rest of the teams
yeah.
are just literally actively trying to lose.
Yeah, well, and I think they're guaranteed at this point. I don't think.
Okay.
I think last time I saw they were like 7 or 8 games up. So I think like it's impossible for them to drop out of the play.
But it's just like with the play in and with how prevalent tanking is in the
Yeah.
NBA now, it's like to make the play in, all you got to do is not try to lose. Like realistically, the Warriors should not be in the playoffs. With the way
Absolutely
they
not.
played this year.
And this is also in the West. That is a way tougher conference than the
Yeah.
East. And like so, considering, and I don't really. It's not even about blaming the Warriors. They've just been had so many injuries this year. I don't think they would have been a 10th seed if you still have Butler healthy.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
If Steph plays most of the year, so it is what it is at this point. I mean, I think I've kind of been in the what's the point of bringing Steph back because again, Steph's great, and even if he's 100%, you're not beating OKC.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So
But what do you think of the argument that like getting if you get to a series against OKC, even if you lose, like that experience could be invaluable for somebody like Pajemski or Guy Santos, or and also just to develop that chemistry between Porzingis and Steph as well.
Yeah, I mean I view more the Porzingis Steph dynamic.
Hmm.
I think that's more important than the experience for this team. The only reason why I say that is they did play last year. Those guys,
That's true.
Santos, not as big of a role as he would have this year, but Pajemski went through a playoff series, went to the second round, didn't play very well,
Yeah,
I'll add, but he got that experience. Steph, Draymond, Porzingis, Jimmy Butler, Horford, they've all not only had playoff experience, but they've all played in NBA finals.
yeah, for sure.
So they have more than enough experience from that perspective.
True.
So I think I don't know. I think, like I said, you win the play-in, it's cool. You're probably going to lose in, maybe I give the Warriors a game
Hmm.
in a series against OKC, and it's not because I just think OKC is really good. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just don't think with Steph having 5 games to get back, again, in those games, it's not like he's going to be playing 35, 40 minutes a night.
yeah,
And if you make the playoffs, I find it really hard to believe Steph's missed like what's going on. It's almost 2 months, right? Or at
yeah.
least
I
two
think
months.
so. I think so.
And then in a span of 2 weeks, he's playing 40 minutes against OKC in a playoff game.
Hmm.
I don't think that, and if they do that, I don't think that's a smart move.
For
So
sure.
I think it's more of seeing how he works with Porzingis. Um, I know we're going to get into off-season like moves and what we want the roster to look like, but
Yeah,
I do think it is important to note that with Steph's injury and all these guys being injured, and against the Spurs, they only had 9 guys healthy.
yeah,
Um, they've been battling all these injuries. I think we're starting to see if what guys should be here next year, what guys are making a case for it
yeah. Hmm.
versus the guys that you know it's probably it's highly unlikely they're going to help you next year. Because again, I got to imagine next year you're trying to compete. I mean, you tell us you are. So with Steph hopefully come back healthy, getting Jimmy Butler at some point next year, you got to think the goal is to compete for a championship. So
Right.
as far as the roster right now, who do you like for next year, or who would you like to see come back? Who's some guys that maybe don't do it for you? What are your take for the guys that have been playing?
I've been super impressed with Guy Santos.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, the Warriors rightly get criticized a lot for their lack of player development successes, but here's a guy who was a second round pick, I think the 55th overall pick,
yeah,
starts his career in the G League, works his way through the rotation, and I mean he's not particularly big. He's not particularly athletically gifted, but he's just a gritty player, and I really like that contract they gave him a month ago. They gave him that 3-year extension for 15 million. And ever since the All Star break, I got his numbers here, but since the All Star break, Santos is averaging 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. So you found yourself a really solid. I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is, but you found yourself a really solid role player at least on $5 million a year for the next 3 years beyond this season.
for sure.
I think he could be a key piece for them going forward. I don't know if that's a starter or just like a sixth or seventh man off the bench. Um, Pajemski gets a lot of criticism, but he's been really good during this stretch. I know you are going to talk about him, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, those two for sure. Beyond, the guys who are on big contracts and who are going to be here no matter what. I mean, those are the kind of the guys that I see as like playing a role going forward. It'd be nice to see someone like Will Richard take the next step. And it was a bummer to lose Moses Moody the other night.
Yeah,
That
that
was a
was
pretty
brutal.
gruesome injury. So I wish him a fast recovery.
Yeah, well, and I think with I'll get into Pajemski in a sec, but with Guy Santos, I the more I watch him play, he reminds me of a more offensively talented Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
They
that.
have similar builds.
Yeah,
Juan Toscano Anderson is definitely more athletic of a player, but Guy Santos is definitely more offensively. He's got more to his arsenal offensively. I don't ever see him being. And this is no knock on him, but I don't ever see him being a starting player on a regular team. And when I say regular team, this is not a regular situation the Warriors are in. Like
yeah,
fully healthy, Guy Santos is not a starter for you,
yeah,
but you are seeing that he can come in those spot minutes, and especially with or those spot starts, and especially knowing going into next year, Steph, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, they're not going to be playing a bunch of or every game. They're going to be constantly resting. They're going to be monitoring them throughout the year.
yeah, yeah,
Even when Butler gets back, they're going to be sitting him a lot of games. So it's important to have those guys that can come in a 2-3 game spurt and start and play 35 minutes for you and
Hmm.
do well. So they did lock him up to a 3 year deal. So he's obviously coming back. I really like DeAnthony Melton and Gary Payton. I really like that defensive dynamic in the backcourt. And
Hmm.
I think Melton is actually, maybe not so much recently, but for most of the year, I think Melton has shown you a lot of his offensive game and potential. And I think for a bench player coming off the bench, being that combo guard,
Yeah.
I think he provides enough for you coming off the bench to, you know, run your second unit, be an effective scorer.
Yeah.
Gary Payton also has been an effective scorer. He just does it in such a unique way. There's literally been no player
Right.
ever, I think, to play like him. But then you look at the box score, and he's got 13 points on 6 of 7 shooting,
Yeah.
and like 4 steals and 4 or 5 rebounds. Like he just fills up the stat sheet. So I really would bring Gary Payton Melton back. Um, Pajemski, it's funny because we'll get into this. I do have him as my player of the week. He's averaging 17 points, which it should be higher, but against San Antonio, he
Hmm.
literally played 17 minutes and he still managed to have 14 points in that game, shooting 56% from the field, 30 or 50% from three. So he's been balling right now. I go back and forth with Pajemski. Sometimes I like him and I think he could be a great play a great role for this team moving forward, and then sometimes I'm like, I don't know. So I'm wishy washy on
Hmm.
Pajemski, but he has played great this week. So I would bring those guys back. I would bring Porzingis back. I've been really happy with how he's played.
Yeah. He had a good game last night.
Yeah, I mean he's a mismatch nightmare. I mean pretty much anytime you can get. I mean I saw last night's game. There was a couple scenarios where he's getting switched onto even a 6'6" forward. He's shooting over the top of them no problem. I mean he's so gifted offensively.
Right.
And so I like that dynamic. It gives him some extra size. And again, it's just an injury thing with him. If he can manage to play in most of the games next year,
Right.
I think you take that. I want to get your take on Horford though, because at least for me, I like Horford. I think he's played well, but at a certain point, I think this team has to get younger, and I don't think you can afford to bring in another player who all year you're constantly watching his minutes, watching the amount of games he plays,
Yeah. Yeah.
resting him every, fourth or fifth or sixth game because you don't want him to get burnt out. I just feel like we already have too much of that, and he's just another person you're going to add to that
Is he
list.
what's his contract? Is he on a 1 year deal
He's
or
on a 1 year deal.
okay.
At least yeah, he's on a 1 year deal because they were interviewing him in one of the games, and he said he likes being here, but they were even asking like, "Oh, we want you to come back next year and be a part of this team." And he was like, it sounds like he is on edge about retiring or coming back. So
Okay.
it is a 1 year deal, but he's 40
Yeah.
now. Like again, he still can play. Like I'm not saying he can't play the game, but it's just, and I'm not even saying you need to go really young, like get a 23, 24-year-old, but at least somebody that's in their early 30s or late 20s, somebody that you can rely to just play, 70, 75 games and
Yeah,
just
for sure.
give you those same minutes. But would you bring him back or what would you do?
Probably not, and I don't mean any disrespect to him. Like he's had a great career, great veteran to have on the team. But I agree with you. I think they got to get younger, and
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense to use a roster spot on a 40-year-old center who you got to watch. Who's on a minutes restriction, and but good warrior. Enjoyed watching him this year, but I think it's time to move on.
Yeah. Cause you have Steph's going to be 39 next year or into his 39 season. Butler's going to be 30, might be 37, definitely 36, but I think 37.
Yeah.
Draymond, 35, 36. If Porzingis is 31, but his body is like a 36,
Yeah.
37 year old at this point. Like injuries is going to be a main factor for him. Uh, and then you add Horford. And again, I feel like the Warriors, well, I feel like we've seen this movie before, especially like you bring in Chris Paul.
Right.
Yeah, sure. When Chris Paul plays, still a productive player, still can do things, but it's like you're bringing in a guy who, again, injury prone, older guy. You're constantly worrying about him, and it's like I feel like they should have realized, or they should have seen that with Chris Paul and
Yeah.
understand that that's going to be basically the same thing with Horford. And I don't understand why, for the life of me, they basically waited the entire offseason to make a move based off Horford
Yeah.
to make a decision. Like I understand doing that for a real impact, like good player,
Right.
but a 40-year-old contemplating retirement, you're holding up 2 months of free agency to see what he's going to do. To me, is just makes
But
no
it
sense.
didn't have something to do with the Kuminga contract impasse
I mean, but I don't think with Horford though, because Horford signed like
for the men or something.
yeah, or like maybe the middle. Like Horford's not making a lot of money, and I
Okay.
don't think Kaminga's, and they don't even play the same position. So like, I don't think Horford would have, or Kaminga's situation played any factor
Yeah.
for
No, I agree
Horford.
with you. I agree with you. It's a big offseason for the Warriors.
Yeah. So
Um, but I mean, how do you feel like? Do you feel like there's any way, realistic way, this offseason where they could put themselves back into a legitimate contending position?
yeah, well, I'd have to look at all the free agents right now. I
Yeah,
don't know off the top of my head all the free agents out there. I would say though, if it were me, how I would do it is, I mean, you're assuming Moody's missing next year,
I'd
right?
have to guess so.
I don't. I mean, with that injury, that's
Yeah.
you're a year out, and that would put you at best case scenario end of March
Hmm.
next year. So I'm basically assuming he's not a factor right now.
Uh huh.
Jimmy Butler tore his ACL in January. Um, and again, although we see guys like Tatum come back from an Achilles, like what was it, less than like nine
Yeah.
months or 10, like something crazy like that.
Hmm.
The Warriors will not do that with a player. The Warriors, if anything, are very conservative when it comes to
And he's an older player
yeah
too. Yeah.
dealing with injuries. So like I could see Jimmy Butler taking more than a year, like maybe like going into February, like the All Star break next year, and
Okay.
then even when he comes back, I could see him playing like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I don't they're not going to push him to, 35, 40 minutes a night. So I'm also playing that into account, but I think if I were in charge, I would stick to Steph's going to start Draymond, Porzingis. I bring back Porzingis, bring back Melton and Peyton and solidify your backup guard play
Hmm.
with Pajemski. I don't like Pajemski as a starter.
Okay.
I guess maybe that's my thing with Pajemski is I like him being a guy who can come off the bench, is a solid all around player, can give you 15 to 20 points on any given night
Yeah.
and produce offensively. But I don't like him as my starting shooting guard.
Right.
Um, I think if a player like a Giannis, I know I keep bringing that up, but if he becomes available, I mean, I think you got to do whatever you can to get him.
Hmm.
And in that scenario, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Draymond off the bench, and that has nothing to do with Draymond as a player. I just think if you bring in a guy like a Giannis or a dominant power forward
Right.
and keep Porzingis at the five, I think Draymond could be very valuable coming off the bench and still playing 25, 30 minutes a night. Like not saying you play him
Yeah.
10 minutes, but if you look at Melton, GP, and Draymond as your defensive guys off the bench, and you bring in maybe one, offensive minded guy or two guys who can score the ball, I think that would be a great uh, backup five to bring into a game.
Hmm.
So I don't think they'll do that, but I would definitely not write that off as a potential
Yeah.
option.
I mean, I think they'll be aggressive to try to get a guy like that, but I mean, if the Bucks didn't want to make a deal with the Warriors at the deadline when the market was limited,
Yeah,
like I don't see why they would change in the offseason when presumably they're going to have way more suitors if they do make Giannis available.
no, for sure.
And Pajimski and some draft picks and whoever else the Warriors can muster up is probably not going to be that enticing of an
And you lose
offer.
Moody as a draft or Moody as a potential
Asset,
asset.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
but like, I get that 100%. I think the Warriors though, I don't know if they're even giving those draft picks though, because I do think that in the beginning of the 2030s, maybe 2029, 28, but definitely the beginning of the 2030s, the Warriors at that time they're going to be in a rebuild
Yeah.
at that point. Like Steph's not going to be here. Even if you get Giannis, that's probably going to be for like a 2, 3 year
Hmm.
period. I don't see them just getting Giannis and then building everything around him because when Steph retires, I'd imagine Giannis will probably move elsewhere. So I would see that as a very 2, 3 year gap to try
Right.
to win. But the Warriors are going to be rebuilding, and I think those picks would be so valuable for a team like Milwaukee, who's going to be, you know, drafting in the lottery the next few years. Probably, if you have the Warriors picks, especially if they're unprotected, those will be I think, very valuable picks. But I don't think the Warriors are trying to give those up right now.
Right.
So I
Right.
think they're trying to I think maybe they're trying to give up maybe one or two, but I think they were really trying to sell the whole like, oh, Kaminga, Pajemski, get some young guys, and
Yeah.
I don't think Milwaukee's buying that, and
Yeah.
especially now that Kaminga's gone. I think you're gonna have to deal a lot of first round picks, so we'll see if
Yeah.
they're open to doing that. But again, you keep saying you're in win now mode.
Yeah.
That is a win now move to make. So
True.
we'll see if they actually do it. But who was your player of the week before we move on?
Guy Santos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Guy Santos.
Guy Santos. How about yours?
I had Pajemski.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think those two guys were probably the best players this week, and
Porzingis had some good games too.
he did. Yeah, I like Porzingis last night. He played well. He again, I do like him a lot. It's just we need him to stay healthy.
Yeah,
If
for
he
sure.
can give you 60 plus games next year, which is a big if,
Yeah.
you take that. But I think that gives you I think him as a third option is a really good player. I
Yeah.
don't know how I feel about him being the running mate with Steph because again that durability. But if he's your third guy, I'm very happy with that going into
Yeah.
to next year.
Well, Steph back Sunday.
Hopefully,
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 hopefully.
yeah. I don't want to speak too soon,
Yeah,
but hopefully they can get him back, get a couple wins in the play-in, and give us some postseason basketball to watch at least. But
no,
let's
for sure.
transition to a more exciting playoff race to talk about, which I'm sure you're going to have lots to say. But the San
Yeah,
Jose Sharks
I've
are
been waiting
on.
or all podcast for this right now.
You ready, or you want to take a break
No, no,
first?
I'm good.
Okay.
Let's go.
4-game winning streak.
4 game win
Huge
streak.
win last night.
Yeah.
And as of today, the Sharks hold the second wild card spot.
Yep.
So they are a playoff team as of today. How are
Yeah,
you feeling?
I think it's a 3-way tie, but they have the tiebreaker. I am. This has been such a roller coaster the last I mean, well, actually, really all year because I want to take this back to the beginning. The Sharks literally started this year 0-7,
Yeah.
and the previous 2 years they started like 0-10. They didn't have a win in October going into this year since like 2023
Hmm.
or no 2022. So like their Octobers have been historically terrible, and this year was no
No
different.
different. Yeah.
So you just see so much resilience from this team, whereas in previous years, whenever things got bad they'd lose a bad or a tough game, they had a bad play, it would snowball from there.
Hmm.
And since that 0-7 start, they just keep having an answer. They come back, they start playing their best hockey in November, December. They have losing streaks, they come back. They had to keep climbing up the playoff charts because of that slow start. But I do have a shift, and I want to go back to their last loss against St. Louis. And I think not only for the Sharks, but we're going to be talking about Celebrini a lot right now.
Yeah.
This is the turning point I think of this season so far with the Sharks and with Celebrini. So they were on a 4 game losing streak. They're playing St. Louis. They're in overtime, and puck gets chipped into the defensive zone, and there's like 4 seconds on the clock.
Hmm.
So their player, I forgot what his name was, but the St. Louis player, he goes down to the corner to retrieve the puck, and Celebrini basically just stops playing
Hmm.
because there's like 3 seconds left. He just assumed the game was they were going to go to a shootout at that point, and the player makes a really nice play. It probably should have been safe because it was from a really bad angle, but he gets the puck. He's coming down the goal line and flips it over Nedeljkovic's shoulder with like half a second left in overtime to win the game.
Hmm.
And so when that happened, obviously everyone was like wondering why Celebrini stopped playing. It was just okay, here we go again, and that seemed like the season was just done for. That was their fifth straight loss. Celebrini quit on the play, which again I don't even fault him. I mean Celebrini's amazing, so like I didn't think he had enough time to get a shot off, so it's it's whatever from
Hmm.
Celebrini's side. But it was a bad look. And considering they were on a losing streak, I was like, okay, they're
This
done.
is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the backbreaker. Good season. Cool. Since that game, they've won 4 in a row. But in those 4 games, really 3 games, because Celebrini didn't even have a point yesterday against. We're filming this right after the Toronto game.
Right.
In the next 3 games, he had 5 goals and 4 assists and had 9 points in 3 games.
Wow.
And it's like, and then they haven't lost since that game. But it's just another reason why Celebrini at 19 years old is already the leader of this team.
Yeah.
He took that loss. He said, F that. Like, we're not going down like this, and just carried.
Yeah.
And now they find themselves on a 4 game winning streak back in the playoff. I mean, when I did this last video last week, they were like 6 points out, 5 points out. There was like 5 teams in between them and the last
Yeah,
wild
yeah.
card spot. They were done,
Wow.
and somehow they're back into it. They have 8 games left. I want to say
Yeah,
7 or 8
that's right.
games. So I mean, it's still not over yet.
8
But
games.
the fact that they're back here, crazy. But
Yeah.
what have you seen from the games in the last week?
Well, I want to talk about Celebrini.
Yeah,
Honestly, I got lots to say about him. He's fourth in the league in points,
yeah,
105. And you look at the list, and everybody around him is like 27 to 30 years old, and he's 19 years old. He's already among the best players in the league,
yeah.
which
It's
is
crazy.
crazy. I looked at a list of most points by a 19-year-old in the history of hockey, and there's 3 guys ahead of him. I think he's going to pass the guy right above
Yeah, I don't even know who that guy is.
him.
He
Yeah,
played in like
that's
the
right.
'80s. I was like, I have no idea who that guy is.
That he
But
has 107. So assume
respect to whoever he is.
yeah,
Yeah,
Something Carson or something like
yeah,
that. But assuming that he passes him, there's no injuries or no fluke.
yeah.
Uh,
You say he's what, two
yeah,
or
he's
three?
2 points
Yeah,
behind.
he'll. Yeah,
So he will be behind Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby for the best season by a 19-year-old in the history of the game,
yeah,
which is crazy. And then also, I was looking at most points in a single season by a Sharks player. It's Joe Thornton with 114.
yeah,
Celebrini, like we said, has 105. So he's got a realistic chance in these next 8 games. No guarantees, but he's
yeah.
got a realistic chance to have the most points in a single season by a Shark in franchise
As
history
a
as a
teenager.
19-year-old. It's insane.
Yeah, with the Thorn one, I hope he gets it. It's gonna really. It'll probably come down to the last game.
Yeah,
If he does have a game where like he did against Anaheim, where he has like a 3 or 4 point night,
right.
um, I think he would get it because I'm also assuming at some point in these next 8 games, there's going to be a game where
Yeah,
he doesn't have a point like he did last
last
night.
night,
But
right.
I mean, at the very least, he's going to be anywhere probably between like 112 to 115, somewhere in that range. But it's just insane. And if he doesn't break it this year, he'll probably just break it next year or the year.
Yeah,
Like when assuming he stays healthy, 10 years from now, when we look at those like Sharks records, Thorn may not even be on that list anymore. Like it's just going to be Celebrini. Thorn maybe will be like fifth or sixth or something like that. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
insane what he's done, and this is why I wanted to. Well, first, before I get into my case for Celebrini MVP, do you have anything else you want to talk about with the Sharks team as a whole right now?
I've been impressed with Alexander Wimberg
Yeah,
the last week.
he's
I
been
think
huge.
he's been a super solid veteran for them. I think he's got 5 goals and 3 assists in the last 5 games,
Yeah,
and this has been a crucial stretch, and he's really stepped up. And as a leader of the team, I think that's been huge. I mean, we can talk all we want about Celebrini. He's the guy that gets all the accolades. He's the young superstar, but you need a player like that as well on a young team. So I've been impressed with him.
yeah. And when they brought Wenberg in, they signed him to a 2 year deal last off or 2 off seasons ago. They just re-signed him, but they mainly brought him in as originally to be kind of the bridge gap, get some center depth for Celebrini going into his rookie year. Just a veteran presence, but not somebody that you would look at and say, okay, you're gonna be on our power play one or be our one of our vocal points offensively. Because with Wenberg, he's a very skilled player, he's a good defender, but his biggest issue has always been he's not very aggressive when it comes to scoring
Yeah.
um or shooting the puck. Like he's a good playmaker. But this year we're seeing I think he tied his career high for goals. He's second of his career high or he's having his second best year points wise.
Hmm.
But these last week or two, he's really being more aggressive, shooting the puck because he does have a good shot. It's not that he doesn't. He just I think would rather be a playmaker.
Right.
So he's played well. Another guy I really want to talk about before we get into the MVP talk is Colin Graff.
Okay.
So little history on him. He goes to play college NCAA or NCAA hockey. When he was in his draft year, he didn't get drafted, and the main reason why is he was really tiny. I want to say he was like 5'9", 5'10", like 150 pounds, like 60 pounds. Like he was really small. He plays 3 years in hockey. Um, was in the running for the Hobie Baker, which is basically like the Heisman
Hmm.
for hockey. But that was the year Celebrini won it. Um, but by the end of his college career, he ended up coming out to like 6'1", 6'2", and
Okay.
like 190. But like he had a really late growth spurt and filled into his body, and so all of a sudden he leaves college and he's like he's got an NHL body at that point.
Okay.
And so when you don't get drafted, at that point you can, when your season's over for college, you can sign at the end of the year with virtually anyone. And the Sharks ended up signing him mainly because they were so bad. I'm assuming Colin Graff said, okay, this is probably the only team that's going to let me have a great shot at, getting some hockey or NHL time this year or next year. So he signs with the Sharks. And I really want to talk about this because last year was his first full year. Played well, played about half the year. He was up and down between the Barracuda and the Sharks. But this year has taken a roster spot
Mm.
and just had his 20th goal yesterday. Really sound defensive player, good on the penalty kill. And the reason why I want to talk about him is when we're talking about the evolution of this team right now, we're seeing the Sharks, those beginning stages to getting to that contending Stanley Cup team.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the ultimate goal right now is winning a Stanley Cup with this core. Not trying to say like, oh, they're going to be a dynasty or anything insane, but at least the very least you're trying to. That's the goal is to win a Stanley Cup. When you look at even with Bay Area teams and their championship teams, you always, and those core guys, you always see a guy that you wonder how did we end up with him.
Mm.
And I think that's what Colin Graff's going to be for this team because you look at the Warriors, Draymond, second round pick, 9 times out of 10, that pick just ends up being normal second round pick, doesn't do much for your organization, and
Right.
your Draymond is Hall of Famer and the core of this dynasty. You look at with the previous Sharks teams, Joe Pavelski, seventh round pick,
Oh wow.
ends up playing for 15 years for the Sharks, is your captain and
Hmm.
one of your all-time best Sharks. And especially in hockey, 99 out of 100 times that seventh round pick is never even plays in the NHL. So you get lucky with that. So I look at Graff as being one of those guys we look at 5 years from now and seeing him be one of those core players.
Hmm.
I never would like Graff's not going to be a 30 to 40 goal, you know, all-star caliber player, but
Yeah.
if he's somewhere in between that 15 to 25 goal range, really good defensively, produces offensively, to get that as an undrafted free agent
Yeah.
is huge.
For
So
sure.
I really have been impressed with this game. Um, but with Celebrini, if they make the playoffs, I don't see how he can't win or why he shouldn't win the MVP at this point. So I have the three other players that I have in the running
Okay.
for this, and this is my take on why
All right. Let's hear it.
Again, if they make the playoffs, I think they have to make it for him to
Yeah.
get it. But you have Celebrini, McDavid, Nikita Kucherov in Tampa Bay, and then Nathan McKinnon for the Avalanche.
Right.
So we'll start with McDavid. McDavid, best player in the world, in my opinion. I don't think there's much arguing that. But like we said, Celebrini's got 105 points, 226 of the. He has 105 points out of the 226 total goals the Sharks have. So he's scored or assisted on 46%
Wow.
of the Sharks'
I saw
goals.
that. That's crazy.
McDavid is the only other person that's slightly above him, and he's at 47%. So he has 126 points. McDavid does. But this is where I feel like Celebrini gains ground because of the point differential. You have Leon Draisaitl for the Edmonton Oilers, who is universally known as maybe even a top five, but for sure top 10 player in the world.
Hmm.
He's great. And I think obviously McDavid makes him better. I think he makes McDavid better. But he just got injured a couple of weeks ago. He's out for the rest of the regular season. But in
Okay.
his 65 games this year, he has 97 points. Draisaitl does. Evan Bouchard, who's a defenseman, has 87 points as a defenseman. Zach Hyman has 31 goals this year.
Hmm.
So obviously McDavid is the driver of that bus. He makes everything go, but he has, and they have other guys who are producing, but these are just some of the top guys.
Yeah.
He has help around him. He has a top 10 player with Draisaitl, an elite defenseman in Bouchard, probably a top five defenseman, and then a 30 goal scorer. You move over to Nikita Kucherov in Tampa Bay, 124 points, so just below McDavid. He's assisted or scored on 46% of their goals, so same with Celebrini. He has Getzel, who has 36 goals, 83 points this year, who was on the Olympic team for Team USA, won gold, and historically has been a very good goal scorer throughout his 10-year career. So he's been a very good player. Brendan Hagel has 35 goals, 73 points. And then they have this guy, Radish, who Sharks might look at this offseason because he's a
Free agent.
free agent. As a defenseman, he has 20 goals this year. Um, they have dealt with some injuries, so their stars defensive player Victor Hedman's been out for most of this year. So I think that's why Kucherov has put himself in that talks as well because they've had some injuries.
I see.
But again, he's got guys around him that are helping him. McKinnon in Colorado, 121 points out of 280, 43%. Martin Necas on that team has 92 points. Cale Makar, who's the best defenseman in the world,
Hmm.
75 points. And Brock Nelson, 33 goals. And again, other guys who are producing.
Who's the second leading scorer for the Sharks?
Well, that's what I'm going to get to right
Okay,
now.
all
So
right.
that's what I'm going to get to. So I want to also say with Colorado, they are a juggernaut.
Uh-huh.
So Brent Burns, Sharks fan favorite,
Right.
is on Colorado. Brent Burns, even at 40 years old, would probably be our best defenseman, for sure our second best,
Hmm.
but probably first. He is the third best overall defenseman for Colorado. He's not even on their top line, and that includes them having the best defensive player
Wow.
in the world. Now, Celebrini, 105 points. We mentioned that. The second most points on the team is Will Smith, who also missed a few games. He missed 13 games. He has 54 points.
Wow. How many goals?
21?
Okay.
21 or 22. One of those two.
Wenberg is third on the team.
Wenberg started with 51 points.
Okay.
Orlov, who has the most points of the defensive group, has 33 points and 3 goals.
Wow.
The most goals from a defenseman is John Klingberg, who is not even playable right now. During this win streak, he hasn't even played because his defense is so garbage.
Yeah.
He has 10 goals. And he also, in the last 3 years, has played like a total of like 50 games. He's had like 2 hip surgeries.
Okay.
He's basically been non-existent as a player in 3 years.
I see.
So the fact that this team, and again, the Pacific is bad, I totally admit that. The fact that Celebrini is dragging this team, and on top of it, I haven't even gone through goaltending. The Warriors goal or the Sharks goaltending is okay.
Right.
Like they have some good numbers, they have some good stretches, but we'll talk about Askarov in a little bit into Delkovich because I do want to get into that. But
Okay.
when you look at the team around Celebrini, he's dealing with average goaltending, maybe slightly above average. Definitely a bottom 3 defensive core in the league. You could probably argue first, but definitely bottom 3. And you have players like Tyler Toffoli who have had down years. William Eklund hasn't produced a lot offensively, scoring the puck. And Will Smith is his running mate. And his other line mates that he's had have been Colin Graff, who's had a career year. Again, a lot to do with Celebrini.
Right.
And a guy who I really love, Igor Chernyshov, who they just brought up from the Barracuda, who's 20 years old and has played a total of probably 25 games in the NHL.
Okay.
So you're not playing Celebrini. His line mates aren't 30 goal guys or,
Right.
Olympic final or players on Team USA. Like he's playing with a bunch of solid young guys who are relying on a 19-year-old to get it done. So when you look at most valuable player, if you take Celebrini off this team, they are by far the worst team in the NHL. By
Right.
far. Like they probably have, I think they have 79 points right now.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yes.
They probably have 40,
Hmm.
45 maybe.
That is crazy.
If you take them off this team, they're nothing. So it's like when I see if you take McDavid, Kucherov, McKinnon off those teams, of course they're worse. You'd be dumb to say they're not, but like I still think that Colorado could probably make the playoffs. They wouldn't be a great playoff team, but they could probably make the playoffs even without McKinnon.
Uh huh. The only counter I would say is that goal percentage, or goals and assists percentage that you said for he scored or assisted on
46.
47%,
Yeah.
46%. That number is probably skewed a little bit by him having not as much support, right? Because like a team that has depth, has good second lines, and has more depth, more alternative scorers. It's that their best player is going to have a lower percentage, not because they're performing any worse, but just because they have more help,
So I agree with that.
right?
My only counter to that though is imagine how many more points and assists he would have if he had
Yeah, that's a good point
a
too.
go-to. Because again, their power play, like if you look at their power play unit, you have a defense. You have Orlov, who shouldn't be a power play defenseman. He's a solid two-way player, but he shouldn't be running a power play. You have Will Smith. Cool, I'm okay with that. Wenberg, who again up until this year has always been known to be a passer,
Hmm.
setup guy, not much of a scorer. You have Tyler Toffoli, who's taken a drop off this year, who has not been the same player, and then you have, yeah, that's your power play.
Right.
So again, they're running everything through Celebrini. So my only thing is, if Celebrini had a Draisaitl, a Getzel, you could easily add an additional 10 points
Right.
to this year
That's a good
just
point.
off guys who are better finishers. So that's why, again, yes, his points are lower than the rest of these guys, but this year he's having is much more impressive. And again, forget the age because that speaks for itself.
Right.
But I, the fact they're even here is crazy.
Hmm. I had a question. So, like, during the peak years of the like 2000s, 2010 Sharks,
Yeah.
it, it always seemed to me like they had a great team. They had a great team of players that maybe were like greater than the sum of their parts. But like Thornton, I guess, was probably their best player, right?
Yeah, for sure.
At his peak, I guess he had 114 points in the season. But at his peak, was he ever like a top five player in the league?
I think so. Probably when he had 114 or that was so he won the
This was in 2006, 2007.
yeah. So the year before, when my favorite year as a fan, when
You were like six.
6, when Chichu had 56 points.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the reason my favorite number is 14. I love Chichu. But
Nice. Oh,
anyway,
okay.
that was
Cool.
the year Thorne got traded to us. That year, Chichu won the Rocket Richard, which is like most goals in the NHL, and then Thorne, I believe, won the MVP that year.
Okay.
So that year, and then the following year when he had the 114 is probably his peak, like stardom. I would say, like where he was considered a top player. But he again with Thornton, he was always considered a passer,
Hmm.
an elite passer, one of the best we've ever seen. But he wasn't a he was more of a setup guy. He wasn't a goal scorer, and I don't think he could produce offense the way Celebrini has been. Marlowe I love, but Marlowe is mainly a goal scorer, a good finisher. So him and Thornton really worked well together.
Hmm.
But I think with those Sharks teams, they definitely had enough talent to win. They faced unfortunate injuries at unfortunate times. Goaltending was a little questionable in some years, but it seemed like with the Warriors, it was or the Sharks every year something happened as to why they didn't make the
Right.
playoffs. They just like it, they just couldn't get over that hurdle. They when they did make the Stanley Cup against Pittsburgh, a big reason why they lost is because they played Pittsburgh. I
That
mean,
was like 2016.
yeah, Crosby in the peak of his powers,
Right.
who was probably the best player in the world.
Uh huh.
And so it was like I think if they had probably gotten anyone else that year, they probably win. And so it was just unfortunate scenario after unfortunate scenario. So yes, Thornton was considered that, but I think Celebrini's better.
Okay. And he's
And
19.
and he's just way more fun to watch. Like again, I love Thornton, I love Marlowe, but like
Yeah.
I don't. All right, I'll put it to you like this: if Thornton or Marlowe were on this team in their prime, I don't think the Warrior or the Shark. I don't know why I keep saying Warriors. I don't think the Sharks are in this spot.
Okay.
So
Interesting. And he's only going to get better too.
that's what I'm saying. Like, and again, he's good defensively. He's strong. Like he wins battles on the board. So it's like, imagine when he's like 25, 26. And at that point, he's just entering his
Right.
prime. Like we're still 6, 7 years away from that.
Yeah.
And he's already doing this. Like, I think if God willing, he stays healthy, he'll be considered the best Shark of all time the moment he wins the Stanley Cup, or if he keeps putting up points like this within like
Yeah.
I give it 3 to 5 years.
So do you think going into this year, the mindset of like the GM was more like, I mean, that this was unexpected?
Oh,
It was more
100%.
like, hopefully, they have a better year than last year. They show some progress, but we're not going to make the
Bro,
playoffs. And like there, he probably was thinking more three or four
dude,
years out.
we just barely made the cap floor.
Uh huh.
Like we took on. Do you know who Carey Price is? He was a goalie for a long time for
I've heard the name.
Montreal.
Okay.
Really good goalie. He basically had an injury later in his career a couple years ago, and he was forced to
Okay.
not retire but step away, kind of like Couture, because if you retire, your contract goes away, so they don't actually retire.
Okay.
The Sharks took on his contract for $10 million this year, knowing he's not going to play.
Wow.
They
Just
got
like
like
to get some draft capital or something? Or
no, they got like
just,
a fifth or fourth round pick. It was
okay.
literally just so they can reach the floor. That's with them paying Couture $8 million
Uh-huh.
because same situation. He couldn't actually retire. He just stepped away. Carey Price, that's $18 million tied up into two guys who haven't played a second for you, and you knew weren't going to play a
Wow.
second for you this year. you give you're still on not a whole lot, but like you're still paying guys like Carlson a couple $1,000,000. Hurdle, I think that probably comes off soon, but like he was my Greer, I can tell you, was probably thinking, okay, Celebrini going to take a jump. He'll be considered a really good player. Hopefully, best case scenario, it'd be great if he makes Team Canada.
Hmm.
He makes Team Canada is like
A key
a
player.
first line player,
Yeah.
probably the third best player on the team. And if we can just get some good growth from the young guys, and then next year we'll try to be in the position we're in now, competing for a playoff spot, and then in Celebrini's fourth, fifth year, being
Right. Right. Right.
a team that you think could go somewhat far in the playoffs.
But so do you think them being ahead of schedule like they are? Do you think that that kind of forces the
It has
GM's
to.
hand? They're going to be more aggressive, or
It,
okay?
it has to because you don't. There's no
Nothing's
question.
guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed, but like Celebrini, he has one more year on his rookie contract. By
Uh,
the way, just I want to ask you, how much do you think he's making?
I don't know hockey contracts. I guess like
Well, like, what would be the equivalent to like what he's doing for first overall pick in like any other sport?
yeah, like tens of millions. But in hockey, he was the first overall pick, so probably like I mean it's going to be low, I know, but I'd say like 1.5 million.
975 grand.
Wow,
So
that's
like
crazy.
that's insane.
Damn.
So and his next contract's going to be huge. Like he might have the highest contract
What does
ever.
the highest paid guy in the NHL make a year?
I'm going to give you a ballpark because I don't know the exact answer, but I want to say you're probably at like 15,
Okay,
14 to 16, somewhere in that
right,
range. But I think Celebrini will probably he's due for an extension this offseason.
right,
I would do it now.
yeah,
If I'm like because one, you have the money, so like you're not worried about contracts and like having other high contracts right now.
yeah,
The cap's going up year over year. What he would be willing to take now versus when the cap goes up next year and what that's going to be worth.
uh huh,
And then also there's like with hockey players, there's a huge talk on bridge contracts where it's like 3 to 5 years
mm,
versus the longest you can sign is like 7 or 8.
okay,
I'm giving him the 7, 8 year deal
right away,
now.
yeah,
I mean, bro, when that's up, he'll be 27. Like he'll still be. You sign him again. Like
yeah,
I'm taking care of it now because what that contract will be considered 4 or 5 years from now won't be like a crazy
right,
amount. Just like we see with quarterbacks, like what the highest paid quarterback was getting 3 years ago compared to now, it's totally
yeah.
different, or 4 years ago. So
Now Brock Purdy gets fifty
yeah, I
million
don't
dollars a
think
year.
they're. I'd be surprised if they did. I would do it though. I'd
Uh,
give it to them as early as I can, lock them up. But it definitely forces your hand because you can't sit on a player who now has already claimed to be a top five, maybe top three player in the world. You can't sit on that and say, "Oh well, we'll start competing when some of the other guys are." No, like you need to.
go for it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying do anything like stupid, like spend 2, 3 first round picks and do anything crazy, but like you have to put a team around him that you can at least say, okay, this is a playoff caliber
Hmm.
team because they're really not. They're not a playoff caliber team right now. They're just Celebrini's playing amazing and they're in a bad division. But you need to get defense around him.
Yeah.
You need to put a solid team around him next year for sure, and I think they will
Well,
because they have the cap.
so going off of that, we don't have to get into like specific players you want them to add in the
Yeah,
offseason, but how should the GM approach roster construction this offseason? I think we both agree that defense needs to be a
yeah.
priority. They have pretty good center depth.
I think yeah. So center depth is they're set because you have Celebrini, Misa, who I know we haven't talked about, but
He was their first round pick
yeah, he was the second overall pick this year.
this year.
And
Okay.
although they wish they won the lottery because the defenseman who went number one is already like his name's Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He's in bro. If we had him with Celebrini, that would be like we'd be talking Stanley Cups like
Now,
in the next year or two. Like it's insane. But anyway, I do like Misa a lot. He's
Misa is also a center.
he's a center. So
Okay,
those are gonna be your two centers for the next 10, 15 years, like first and second line centers.
I see.
We have Wenberg, who's gonna be here, and then Zach Ostapchuk, who I really like. He's a fourth line center. He actually scored yesterday. He played really well, but I think you're good there. I think if you're Mike Greer, defense needs a whole revamp, and I think you need to target guys in the 23 to 30 age
Okay.
range. I don't think because especially with hockey, like when you draft somebody, unless they're insanely good, but later first round picks, they're not making the NHL for best case scenario 2 3 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 4 or 5. So it's like now accumulating draft picks means nothing at this point. They
Hmm.
have 2 first round picks this year. I think they're going to trade probably one of them. But like, you can't wait for 3 4 years for a guy to make the NHL while you have Celebrini. So I think you need to get guys who are now just making the NHL, starting to become impact guys,
Yeah.
and guys who still have a longer window. I don't think you should be going after guys who are 35, 36 because
Yeah.
the age don't
You're looking to
line
build
up.
something sustainable for the next 6 to 7 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
So I
Yeah.
think if you can trade for a good player and give up a first round pick, or maybe some prospects that are taking a little bit longer to
Right.
season, I guess. Like, that's what I think they do. But I think they need to make changes because this is the time to do it. But
Yeah, for sure.
that's my case for Celebrini for MVP. We'll see what happens, but I'm this next 2 weeks is going to be insane,
Yeah, for
crazy.
sure. Well, I'm excited. Hopefully they get that playoff spot. I want to watch some playoff hockey. So.
Oh, bro, I've been waiting for that for years.
Yeah.
So last team we were talking about, first time we're talking about them is the 49ers.
Yeah.
Couple of free agents that we're really just going to talk about free agency and
Sounds
who
good.
they've signed and kind of like where the team goes from here. But they obviously the big signing was Mike Evans, 3 year contract.
Right.
A couple other guys they signed were Nate Hobbs, who former Raider, so we'll talk about him. They re-signed Tonjes. He'll be the starting tight end this year with obviously Kittle being out.
Yeah.
Uh, Christian Kirk as an additional wide receiver for the wide receiver room. So,
I like Kirk.
look, I mean, we obviously need to start with Mike Evans. Thoughts on the signing?
I like Mike Evans. I mean, they needed a legit number one receiver like that. I think he's a good fit. I'm excited to see how Kyle uses him. And I think he fits age wise with the rest of the team. I mean, realistically, the window is not that big.
You
You
have
know,
like a year or two.
probably a year or two
Yeah,
because I mean, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent Williams is like 38.
yeah,
Bose is getting older and has a pretty extensive injury history. I'm not ruling it out. Like I think they'll still have a chance this year, but like you said, like maybe a year or two. So they're all in on this year, and I think with that in mind, a move like that for Mike Evans makes a lot of sense. But yeah, with guys getting older, with that Purdy contract looming, I think when you're paying him $50 million plus a year, it's going to limit what you can do with the roster elsewhere.
yeah,
So we'll see. I think it's really it's tough to put these kind of expectations on a team, but it's Super Bowl or bust this year.
for sure. We'll talk about this another time, but it will be interesting to see like when they do end up like when the window does close, like Purdy's still going to be young. It'll
Yeah,
be interesting to see like how they you have Purdy in his later 20s, but like still in this prime with a rebuilding roster. It'd be interesting to see how that
right.
works. But anyways, I like the Mike Evans signing as the guy who always ends up drafting Mike Evans in the seventh round of the fantasy football league.
Yeah.
I've watched him a lot.
Okay.
I mean, he's obviously super consistent. Dealt with a few injuries last year, but overall has been a very serviceable guy. He does come and go. Like he has parts throughout the year where he's a dominant wide receiver, and then he kind of disappears in a couple of games, especially when there's good corners who play good man to man. He his impact drops off quite a bit, but
Yeah.
I mean he's clearly your best player, like skill position player other than McCaffrey. I would say like
Yeah.
he's definitely your best receiver. Obviously with Kittle out, he's your best pass catcher. So they needed to make a move to bring those guys in because Ayuk, obviously, that was a terrible situation.
Yeah. He's
Uh,
still under contract too, right? Like they're just trying to figure out a trade, or they're waiting whether to.
yeah, there's no dude. I don't know how you trade. Like, who's going
Yeah.
to trade for him? Like, I
True.
don't see how he's had a terrible injury. He didn't play all of last year. Like
Yeah.
you might get like what a sixth, seventh round
Who
pick, like
knows?
best
Yeah.
case scenario. But he's definitely not playing for you.
Uh huh.
That's been pretty clear, right? Like he's not playing.
No,
So
I doubt it.
so you have him, you have Evans, and then you have Pearsall. Who Pearsall? I think he's a good player. I think where he was drafted is probably always going to be like the bigger issue with him being that he was a top pick.
Hmm.
I don't see him being a legit number one receiver. I see him being more of a third receiver on the team. Maybe gives you 50 catches somewhere in that
Right.
range, which is still good. But again, considering where you drafted him, but your three receivers are him, Jennings, and Evans, right? Those are going to be your three
Yeah.
wide receivers.
Christian Kirk.
Oh yeah, and Christian Kirk. Yeah. Well, the thing with Christian Kirk is like I looked at his last 3 years. He's played in 33 of 51 games,
Hmm.
and since his last 1,000 yard season, his yards have been 787 yards, 379, 270 or 239. So he's 29 years old. I think it's safe to say his best play is behind him
Yeah,
at
probably.
this point. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess he could be, a good slot guy. Give you a little bit. I mean, are you going into the year again? Who knows what they do in the draft? But
Right.
assuming maybe they spent the draft on defense or linemen and not skill position, if you go into next year with Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Brian Robinson didn't resign. He
No,
left. So McCaffrey, Juszczyk, um, Evans,
Kirk.
Kirk, Jawan Jennings, and Pearsall, and then Tonjes. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, assuming they get Kittle back to at some point, but at
You think
least
they will though? Because he
well,
got injured in the playoffs,
that's true. I
and it's
mean,
a
is he expected to come back in time for the playoffs or the last couple weeks of the season at least?
well the way okay well so the way I look at it is he got injured in January in the playoffs, so that Achilles best case scenario he's back by the new year.
Yeah,
That puts you at week 17.
right. Yeah, that's
So
true.
playoffs, and he's in his 30s coming off a torn Achilles. Like
Yeah,
I think it's safe to say even if he comes back,
gonna be limited. Yeah.
he's not gonna do much. So let's assume Kittle's a non-factor.
I'm honestly not optimistic about the
Okay.
Niners. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'm a lifelong Niner fan, but like it's an older team. They're like one or two injuries away from that skill position core from being really. I mean, we saw how they could kind of tie it together last year despite the injuries, but
Yeah.
that really handicapped their ceiling. And we saw against Seattle what happened when you run into a really good team. Like you just can't score enough points to contend with a team like that. I just don't think realistically, especially without Kittle, they have enough to win a Super Bowl, especially in how good their division is.
Yeah.
So I think there's some challenging times ahead for the Niners, honestly.
Yeah, that Kittle injury was brutal, and it's like, yeah, what he does as a receiver is great, but like I think it's the stuff that you don't see.
Yeah,
Like obviously him in the locker room, his presence, but his blocking ability, what he does in the run game, like
right.
I think that will like Tonjes I thought had some good moments last year, like especially when Kittle had the hamstring injury at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
So like I think he'll produce fine offensively, but it's the other things that you're really gonna miss a
yeah,
guy like Kittle with. Um, one thing I will give Shanahan is it seems like no matter who gets hurt or how many different guys he has at running back or receiver, he seems to get
a lot.
a
Yeah,
lot out of those
for
guys.
sure.
Guys that once they leave and go somewhere else, you don't see that same production. So I'm sure we'll see somebody take that next step. But I think when you're talking about, like you said, that window to win a Super Bowl or at
Yeah,
least compete, and you look at the division, I mean, I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals are going to do much. But when you talk about Niners, Rams, Seattle, like Seattle's not going anywhere. They're
yeah,
just coming off a Super Bowl. The Rams are very much in the Niners situation. Like, dude, I think this arguably could be the best division in football, and
hmm
it will be the worst division in football in like 3 years
hmm
because I don't think the Rams are going to be good in 3 years. Like Stafford's a year-to-year guy, and the Niners 3 years from now, I don't think are going to be like. I think this
yeah.
division is going to take a huge flip in the next year or
Yeah,
two.
the only other point, like the counter to that, would be those are three really well-run organizations with good
Yeah,
young coaches. So if any organizations can find a way to bridge that gap, you would guess it's those three. But I agree, like based just on the current roster construction and how you can kind of project that out going forward, it doesn't look too
I'm
good.
going to be honest though. I don't think McVay.
Sticks it
I
out.
wouldn't bank on him being there for a
Yeah, I
rebuild.
agree.
I think like because dude, he already was contemplating retiring
After the
a
Super
few
Bowl, right?
yeah like a
Yeah,
few years after. Like he got a Super Bowl. Not saying he's done with coaching, but like I could see him taking a year because he's still so young.
yeah,
I could see him taking a couple years and just like getting a new like energy in him and like
yeah,
taking a break. But I don't see him being with a rookie quarterback who knows who it is and like
yeah.
rebuilding. I don't see that. Maybe
It'll
Shanahan, but I don't know about okay.
I mean, with the Niners, like it kind of goes without saying, but it would just be so disappointing for this window to close without a Super Bowl. Like, especially when we were kids, you had an all-time defense. You had Frank Gore, Vernon Davis,
Yeah.
and that was a legitimate window. Obviously, they had multiple chances to get it done and couldn't get it done. And now you have this renaissance with Shanahan and Kittle and Bosa and Fred
Yeah.
Warner. And if they've already blown two leads in the Super Bowl, and
sad for you. I hate the Niners, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
guess
care. Yeah, it's sad for you.
true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
No, you're good.
yeah, but they carry themselves with like the arrogance of a team that's won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You know what's funny? I think I grew up to just hate the Niners. I don't even dislike like the players on the team. Like I
Uh,
like Kittle, I like McCaffrey.
right.
I just like I don't know, but I'm trying not to be use
Fair
that
enough.
bias. But I do agree with
Just
you. Yeah,
two real Super Bowl windows in our lifetime that like they had opportunity after opportunity to get it
yeah,
done and just disappointment after
yeah,
disappointment. And I'm an Oregon Ducks football fan too, so there's been a lot of football related
yeah.
pain at the end of seasons. But
Well,
yeah,
my Raiders. I
yeah,
think are
maybe I'd rather be a Niner fan
yeah.
than a Raider
You're
fan.
fine. But anyways, like I mean, yeah, with the Baltimore Super Bowl, like that turned into a great game, but like
Yeah,
they were down like 22, 21 points or something. But like the both Chiefs Super Bowls, like you had double digit leads.
right.
And then you also, again, when they played the Rams in the NFC, like it's not even the Super Bowls, it's also like
Yeah,
the NFC champion. And honestly, dude, like,
the Jaquiski Tart drop
yeah,
punt,
like
dropped interception rather.
you see, I don't know, like the Niners have made it more, but like I see a lot of similarities with the Sharks and the Niners, where like
Mm,
you look from afar and you're like, how the hell did they not win one of these years?
right.
Like the Sharks, I always look, I'm like, bro, one of these years how didn't they win?
Yeah,
And you look at the Niners, it's like at some point through the NFC Championship games, like Purdy goes down against the Eagles, that kills their chances.
yeah.
The Rams won, they were in prime position to win,
Uh huh.
they lose that one. Then you have obviously the two Super Bowls. It's like one after another. The Seattle NFC Championship game, uh,
The
the
first time
the
around, you mean
first,
with
yeah, with the
Sherman?
Sherman and
Yeah.
Crabtree situation, like
Or the
the
even before
Giants,
that, the Giants game, the
yeah,
Kyle
exactly,
Williams
bro.
punts. Yeah,
Yeah, it's literally been one thing after another.
I
So it's
know.
like at some point, does the luck change, or is it just like it just wasn't meant to be? Because I
I
do
guess
agree with
so.
you. Like you're looking at this year and next year, and because like Trent Williams is a year to year situation.
Yeah,
I think they'll
39, 38.
yeah, I think they'll re-sign him. I think they'll get a deal done, but like whatever that deal is, you're looking at a year or two. Like
Yeah,
you're not going to have a left tackle in his 40s playing in the NFL at
yeah,
this point. Bosa, and we'll talk. Well, actually, let's just get into their defense. But like Bosa's coming off his third ACL injury in
yeah,
his in career, so who knows what his quality of play on the back half of his career is going to
yeah,
look
yeah,
like because he's 28, 29 right now.
yeah, yeah. I think at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's nearing the back half with all those injuries. Warner's coming back healthy. I'm not concerned about Warner. I think he'll be great. Greenlaw, I think that was a big signing for both of them to come
Yes,
in.
for sure.
But how do you feel about their defense?
I agree with you. I really like the Greenlaw signing. I mean, we saw how he fit with Warner
Yeah,
before, but I feel like that's a really complementary style that he plays with next to a guy like Warner. It'll be interesting to see how Raheem Morris's defense looks as opposed to Salah's. But optimistic, I would say, assuming you get a piece like Bosa back and he can produce anywhere close to how he was producing before injury. But we'll see.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I agree, and I like that it's a 1 year deal for Greenlaw.
yeah,
He's struggled with injuries the last couple of years, so it's. I like on defense they've been giving a lot of prove it deals, and
yeah,
I want to talk about Nate Hobbs because it may not be like a sexy pickup, but I think it could lead to some great value because
yeah.
Nate Hobbs was drafted by the Raiders a few years back. First, his rookie year, he played well, and he was a fourth or fifth round pick. Like he was a late pick, and he started at nickel. He can play outside. He can play the nickel. He's really strong in the run game.
Hmm.
Um, like loves the physicality. Will not shy away from it. So his pass coverage can be I wouldn't say it's bad. He's not elite at it, but it's solid. His biggest thing is staying healthy. Like
Yeah,
his since his rookie year, where he played every game, or I think he played 16 games his rookie year. He's constantly been at like 10, 11, 12 games. Last year was 7 or 8. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Green Bay, who's considered a good organization, smart organization, they signed him to a big deal. They gave him like a 4 year, $40 million deal,
yeah,
and they after 1 year they got out of it. I think it was mainly just because of injury. So he comes in on a 1 year deal. I think it's worth about like 4 million. So
okay.
I think if he stays healthy, I think you guys are gonna like his what he brings to the team, that physicality. And like I said, he's versatile. He can play outside, inside, and being that the secondary is I feel like it's pretty hit or miss right now.
Yeah,
That could be a guy that becomes a solid piece in that in that group.
sounds good.
How do you like their corners and safeties right now as a whole, though?
I thought Upton Stout was pretty good last year, and that was his rookie year. But I would think that's kind of a weak point of the defense in the secondary. And it's kind of reliant on that front seven to
Yeah,
generate pressure to kind of take some of the onus off of them to get it done. So obviously they're interconnected, but if that front seven takes a step back, if Bosa is not quite what he was, then I think some of those shortcomings in the secondary can be exposed. But we'll see.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think to go a little in the special teams, I think Pinheiro played really well last year. I think finally getting off of Moody, having an actual like
Yeah.
reliable kicker is going to be. Again,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a big deal, but coming when it comes to these games, like sometimes ends up on the kicker's foot. So
True.
um,
We used a third round pick on Moody
that was bad.
too.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, what is it with Bay Area teams picking like Janikowski was first round pick?
But at
Like,
least he had a great career
it's crazy though because like he had a great career, but it's still like a first round pick
on a kicker.
on a kicker. Like Janikowski was for the longest time was probably the best Raider. Like
Yeah.
like the
Yeah. Yeah.
fact that
For sure.
or your kicker can be a fan favorite for years
Uh,
also just tells you how crappy the team is. But like still, a first round pick is crazy. But anyways, like yeah,
I just remember like playing. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
I
you're good.
remember like playing Madden as a kid, and like you look at the Raiders roster, and it's like Janikowski 90 something overall, and then everybody else is like at least 10 points lower or
Dude,
whatever.
and it's just so bizarre because you have a guy who like is like 250, 260 pounds, has like a beer belly,
Yeah.
probably like drunk every game, and he's kicking a 60-yarder with like a 1 foot
uh,
like head start.
right.
Like dude had just a cannon of a leg,
Yeah,
but
he was sweet.
no, he was insane. But yeah, I mean, dude, if you're I don't know if you're picking a kicker with like earlier than a fifth or sixth round pick, to me is just
Yeah.
even if they do pan out, I don't see a huge value in that. But obviously Moody is gone now. You know, wish him best of luck, but it just wasn't
Yeah,
working out.
was not working out.
Yeah,
Well, we decided not to talk about the Raiders or
yeah.
the Sacramento Kings. If anybody wants to hear us talk about them, please let us know in the
Yeah, leave a
comments. But
comment. Yeah,
we just assume that nobody cares about
yeah,
those two teams.
yeah. And if I talk about the Raiders anymore, I'm gonna freak out. But one last segment we wanted to do, or I
Yeah.
wanted to do with Danny. He doesn't know about it.
Okay.
We're gonna play a quick game. Pick three, cut five, all time Bay Area athletes. Now, this is not Bay Area athletes that were born here, just players who played here.
Okay.
So we're gonna name them off one by one. When I tell you, tell me if you want to keep them or cut them. All
Okay.
right?
Let's do it.
Could go top all time, could
Right.
go crappy. You never know. They could all be good.
Okay. But you're not going to hit me with like Emmanuel Burris at the end
No, no,
or
no, no, no,
Joaquin Arias or
no, no,
something.
no.
Okay.
First one. All right, Jamarcus Russell. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, all right, first one. Steve Young.
That's tough. I mean, he's got a Super Bowl. He's probably the second best quarterback in 49ers history. Um, are you going to name five guys better than Steve Young? I feel like I'm going to cut him. I'm gonna guess that you got some other big names on this list.
All right, remember it's keep three, cut five.
Okay.
All right, so we're cutting Steve Young. Second one, Tim Lincecum.
Two Cy Youngs, three World Series rings, two no hitters as well. I mean, are we talking entire breadth of his career or just peak? I guess it's up
I
to
mean,
me.
it's a mix. I mean, like obviously a guy who has 1 year probably not going to do it, even if
Yeah.
it's great. But like that's up to you. I mean, was his peak justifiable to maybe not having as long of a
Yeah, for sure.
three-time world? What he won three, right?
He won
Was it-
three.
yeah.
Um, I think. I mean, I might be biased because I was like 9 to 12 years old when he was at his peak, and I was like when I was super into Giants baseball and falling in love with baseball. So I'm gonna keep him. I'm
All
gonna
right.
pick him.
And again, this is yours, so
Yeah.
like let everyone like blame you for having a bad list, but this is your list.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
like it,
All right.
that's all that
Give me
matters, right?
Lincecum. Give me Lincecum.
All right, so we cut Steve Young, kept Tim Lincecum. Clay.
Uh, I think I'm gonna cut him. I love Clay. I was at the game when he scored 37 points in a quarter,
Oh, I
but
remember that.
he
I
was
remember.
like he, Lincecum was probably the best player on the Giants in 2008, 2009, and 2010.
Yeah.
There was no season where Klay Thompson was the best player on the Warriors, and arguably he was the third most valuable player on the Warriors, depending on how you evaluate Draymond. So love Clay, Hall of Famer, Warriors legend, but I'm gonna cut him.
I remember that actually. I remember we had just had a basketball game and you were going to the game and I was watching it live and I was like, That lucky mother. Okay, so we have one keep, two cuts, right?
Yeah,
All right, fourth one, Ricky Henderson.
absolutely keep Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson is a legend, best base stealer of all time. He was probably the best player in baseball for a stretch there. Obviously before my time,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll keep him.
All right.
Ricky's a legend.
This one's gonna be interesting. KD, because his peak wasn't like he did spend a lot of time here, but his peak was
Mm. And so what? We're on our fifth right now.
yeah. So you've cut two, kept two, so you have one keep left, and
Oh, I only
after
get to keep three.
yeah, you only get to keep three.
Okay. Um,
That's what makes it tough because you only got one keep left.
and so far I've kept.
You've kept Tim Lincecum and Ricky Henderson.
I'm going to cut KD. I get that he's got the two Finals MVPs, but
Only 3 years.
I don't really like KD. I didn't like the way he left, and yeah, I mean, even if he won the two Finals MVPs, he was not the best player on the team, and it was Steph's team. So I'm getting rid of him.
All right, three more names. Buster Posey.
Damn. I mean, I guess if I kept Lincecum, I got to keep Buster Posey.
Are you
But
shutting it down? Because after this, you're done.
shit. In hindsight, I would have done some things differently, but I'm going to cut him just so I can hear these
Oh,
last two
he's
names.
cutting.
But I know he's a friend of the family.
Yeah, he's friend of the family.
I'm waiting for like Barry Bonds or Willie Mays, but
They may not. Oh, I didn't even think about. Oh, well, newsflash, it's not Willie Mays. I didn't even think about Willie
you
Mays.
got two left here,
Two left.
and you still might name Joe Montana. So I'm going to unfortunately cut Buster, but nothing but respect for him. Please don't tell him I said that.
Joe Thornton.
I'm going to cut him.
Yeah, honestly, I respect.
Best player. Is he the best player in Sharks history?
Yeah, but he didn't win.
Okay, didn't
So
win
I
one.
feel like you got to win to get in.
I already regret keeping Lincecum and cutting Posey, but it's all good. Okay.
All right, and your last keep, last one,
This is who I'm getting.
Patrick Willis.
Okay, I'll take him. Didn't win one, but Patrick Willis was elite when I was a kid, so I loved watching him.
I feel you did good. Like if this was me, well, actually, you tell me what you would have done differently if you would have done anything different.
Yeah.
Who would you have? You kept Steve Young, Henderson, Willis.
Or I cut Steve Young. I kept Lincecum.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you kept Lincecum, Henderson, Willis. What would you have done anything different, or would you kept it?
I probably would have kept Steve Young because Steve Young won a Super Bowl and one of the best players in 49ers history.
Yeah.
I would have kept Posey for sure.
Yeah. The Lincecum was tough.
Lincecum was tough. Yeah.
I feel like your 10-year-old self got into you. And
yeah,
you're like,
for sure.
I gotta.
Also, I mean, I love the Giants.
No, I know.
I probably would have picked Lincecum and Posey.
All baseball.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, I'm shocked you didn't keep Buster.
I still would have kept Ricky Henderson though. Ricky Henderson is a stud.
So would you have done Steve Young, Henderson, Buster?
Yeah, that sounds right. I think I would have done that in hindsight.
I mean, Patrick Willis was a stud, but yeah, you know what's funny? At first, I like stacked the list with all the names you were probably thinking of, but then I talked to Cameron on the phone, and he was like, "No, don't do that. Like, it's too easy." Bro.
I mean, I was waiting for Bonds, who I would have automatically kept, even though he didn't win a World Series. He's the best baseball player of all time, and I was waiting for Joe Montana.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I stacked the list,
but I feel Steph,
I feel like because we're gonna do a lot more of these, but we probably won't do the all-time like best players just because we're going to talk about it right now.
Okay.
I feel like the clear three keeps for all-time Bay Area players, I think, has to be Montana, Steph, and I think it comes down between Bonds and who was the third one I had? I'm blanking.
Wait, top three Bay Area athletes of all time?
Yeah. I think Steph and Montana have. Oh, it was Jerry Rice. So would you have kept?
Yeah, Jerry Rice.
Out of those four, I mean, would you put anyone else in there?
I mean, maybe Ricky Henderson, but let's see.
The only reason why I had Jerry Rice is because he did it for both teams. I don't know if that plays like a factor, but like he was elite with the Raiders.
Yeah,
and like obviously he's like the best wide receiver by far.
No, I like your list. So would you say that Steph is the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time at this point?
Well, out of those four, who would you have taken out? Because you can only keep three.
Out of Steph, Jerry Rice, Montana,
and Barry. Unless you think there's somebody better than those four, but I think those are probably the clear four.
Wow, that's so hard, man. I would have to take out one of the 49ers, I think, just because I'm not going to take out Steph and I'm not going to take out Barry Bonds. And I feel like Rice is arguably the best football player of all time, whereas Montana has been kind of usurped by Brady. I mean,
do you still consider him second
as a quarterback?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So you don't think like Mahomes has passed him yet?
No, I don't think so. Even though he did beat our ass twice, but yeah, I think I'll take Rice, Bonds, Curry. top 3 Bay Area athletes of all
Okay.
time.
Yeah, because I the list had those on there, but I knew you would go Bonds for sure,
Uh-huh.
and I knew you would go Steph, and I think it was going to be like a question between
Yeah, for sure.
Bryce and Montana.
I
But
like that though. We got to do that again.
no, dude, I'm going to think of more.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have some fun with this one, but
Well, we're gonna have an Ascension basketball preview for you pretty soon here once we get closer to the season.
oh
And
yeah,
if you like the podcast, please comment and subscribe. If you didn't like the podcast, comment and say mean things about us in the comments, please. We'd like to read them.
yeah, and
Uh,
come September, you'll be getting church basketball updates. We'll be doing a full
and
segment
highlights, yeah.
and highlights. We'll do a full segment on that. Hopefully, we can bring home a championship.
We're gonna have a Mimi Aronis interview on this
Yeah,
podcast.
that truly is the best team in the Bay Area right now.
Yeah.
Is the Oakland Ascension adult basketball
Yeah,
team.
but we're
So
kind of like the Niners and the Sharks in that we
we
couldn't
are.
get it done at the end of the
Yeah,
season. But fuck, that's for another time.
it's all good.
Super Grill, Pleasanton, California, best teriyaki chicken in the Bay Area. All right, go tell Alan that you heard about it from Golden State Take podcast.
Yeah, we're trying to get a sponsorship, but
Yeah.
I'll be there Monday for sure.
Uh-huh.
We'll be back next week with another podcast. And yeah, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah,
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Like, comment, and subscribe.